Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. I am excited to be here on this beautiful Sunday morning. The man to my right is our red-bearded Vikings fan. He is Thick Evo, and he is a absolute stallion with the picks. I'm very excited for today, man. We got a little bit of shit to go over in the beginning, and then we're going to dive right into football. It is a Sunday. We are the best pregame show on the fucking interwebs. I dare anybody to find somebody else doing a show right now better than this one. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Stay right here and just watch us, guys. All right. But I'm very, very excited. I'm ready for a day.
Yeah. And look, at the very least, you can come on here and you're not gonna, have any promotion of like anti-Semitic films or flat earth theories or anything like that. So, we got at least a leg up there, right?
Absolutely. Neither one of us are hitting the Yee or the Kyrie. So we should be good. Now you may hear some foul language. That's probably not ever going to go away, but it wouldn't be us if we weren't or not talking like that. So it is what it is. But I'm very, very excited for today. My weekend has been fucking chaos. I was working some women's volleyball games over at Cleveland State. They won both games that I was at Friday. I was working the main camera Saturday. I was also working the main camera for the broadcast on ESPN. It's a lot of fun. Every once in a while, I felt like I screwed up, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just went out on ESPN. And then I realized it's ESPN Plus, and maybe not that many people are watching women's volleyball, but it was a lot of fun. And
I turned it on.
I saw that, and I appreciate that. But hey, your boy has got some stuff in the works.
I like to watch women's volleyball when you don't tell me to. So
there you go. I mean, listen, volleyball players are fantastic.
Es lo que es. You can't go wrong with little tight shorts. Not
correct.
To be misogynistic. I mean, I like to watch the guys in those shorts too, of course.
Obviously. Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, rocking the Pete Davidson fucking sock in the front and But yeah, so I have some opportunities potentially here in the near future to maybe step out from behind the camera to courtside with a microphone in front of my face. I don't want to say anything for sure yet because I don't have any dates confirmed, but there is a strong possibility that your boy will no longer be behind the camera for any women's basketball games and possibly sitting somewhere else. So we'll leave it there.
Very cool.
I'm very, very excited about that opportunity. Hopefully everything works out and comes to fruition. But outside of that, I don't really have too much else in the way of other things going on. Youth sports-wise, Graydon had his his All-Star games. They did not win those All-Star games. It's okay. Listen, All-Star games are meant to have fun. He got to play a lot of defense. It's something he did not play very much of during the year. Actually played pretty well on defense. The game that I was able to make it to, he ended up with I would say 4 tackles, 1 for a loss, and then, blocked well, did his job there. So that was good. It was good to see him have fun, even though obviously winning is more fun. Any coach that tells you different is a loser. But yeah, it was good. Outside of that, I got nothing to use sports, but I know you want to talk about your boys up there in Minnesota.
Yeah, and it's mostly for myself or any of my friends from back home that might be watching, but I'm still proud of my high school football team, the Maple Grove Crimson. They just made it to the quarterfinals. Talked about them last week and how they've had such a phenomenal season and have gone undefeated. They're still undefeated here in the playoffs in their second round of the playoffs here, beating Forest Lake 54-21. Last year, again, they went to the championship. They ended up barely losing out on that game. So I'm looking for a championship for one of my teams. Doesn't matter where it is. I mean, I would
Doesn't matter
definitely prefer it
who,
to be the
doesn't matter
Vikings,
where.
but I want a championship before I die, and maybe the Crimson can pull one out for me because we came real close when I was playing there in high school, but never actually got the ship. Keep on getting closer and closer and closer. So rooting on for those boys and a bunch of the people that I know who are still associated with that team. I've got former coaches that are still coaching there that have moved up, and some guys that I actually played with who are coaching on the team. So so congrats to those guys. I'll keep on watching from afar and keep promoting you guys and the good job you're doing.
All right. Yeah, I mean, keep going, boys. You still got what, 2 more rounds to make it through to get to the championship?
Quarterfinals. So
going to the semifinals then.
They have the quarterfinals next Friday, the semifinals, and then that takes us to
potentially, hopefully, 3 more games. Got to make it through 2 at least. At least get into the dance. Hopefully, they make it there. That'd be fucking awesome for your guys up there in Minnesota. We're rooting for them. But you got anything else in terms of you sports that you want to go over before we start diving into some national sports?
No, I'm ready to go, man.
All right. So we're going to take a quick look at baseball. Baseball season is finally over. The Astros have won. They get to hoist Rob Manfred's hunk of metal and fuck the Astros. You got anything else?
No, sir. Baseball's over.
Boom. Yep, baseball's over. All right. We're going to switch real quick right over into college football because baseball season has pissed me off. Man, college football yesterday was wild. There was some games that I did not expect to see an outcome in the way they did. Teams that, kind of put their stamp on the college football season and teams that left us asking, is this team really that good? I'm going to start. One team I was worried about, are they really that good? My Ohio State Buckeyes. They only go out and get a 21-7 win against Northwestern. Now, I did watch a little bit of the game.
It was tied for a decent amount of the time.
It was. I did watch a little bit of the game, though, and it was gale force fucking winds in just one direction right down the pipe. There were career longs for punts in that game. Ohio State has an Aussie-style punter, and he hit 177 yards basically in the air. You don't see Aussie-style punters kick it that goddamn far. They're typically looking for a roll. So it was brutal weather conditions. They're going to have some questions to answer, though, coming out of this because some teams made some massive statements. Georgia gets a huge win against Tennessee. Didn't look like they were in any trouble whatsoever in that game.
And honestly, I would have expected you guys to run the ball a little bit better. Not saying that you guys didn't run it well, but I figured that would have been enough to get you an even bigger lead.
I mean, that's how we won, is playing defense and running the ball. But
yeah, between Mayan Williams and Trayvon Henderson, I would have thought that's a great combo. You guys could run the ball down their throats, but 21-7, it's a little bit shaky against Northwestern, but obviously we'll continue to monitor that because you guys are still undefeated, correct?
We are undefeated. We are one of the few teams still undefeated. We had actually one of those undefeated teams go down. 2 undefeated teams go down. So that, like I was saying, that Georgia-Tennessee game, Georgia was kind of handling them. It didn't ever seem like they were in any danger. I think Hendon Hooker is still going to be a fucking stud. I mean, he's going to be a first-round draft pick. Not his best game, though.
Not horrible, not his best. And realistically, this game isn't like one of those Alabama blowouts that you used to see in the past. We'll get to Alabama here in a bit, but it ended up only being 27-13. So realistically, not a huge blowout. Now, Georgia got that big lead early, 14 points in the first quarter, 10 points in the second quarter, 3 points in the third, and then nothing in the fourth.
Yeah.
And Tennessee just kind of slowly trickled on points, 3 in the first, 3 in the second, nothing in the third, 7 in the fourth. So not a phenomenal game for them, but realistically, when you're talking about 2 of these powerhouse teams going, it's not one of them that is light years ahead of the other one like it has been in the past with Bama, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we're going to get to Bama, but before we get to that, Notre Dame figured out how to play football much later in the season because they were fucking terrible to start the year, but they figured it out, and Clemson sucks. They're now definitely, almost assuredly, out of the conversation for the playoffs, and it makes me very happy because Dabo Swinney is somebody I just absolutely cannot stand. I do not want to see his dumbass trying to gritty with a bunch of young athletes who, it's wrong. So I'm glad that Clemson lost. Very surprised it happened at fucking Notre Dame, though.
Yeah, definitely a surprising match. And then the other foreshadowing that he had there was a big game between Alabama and LSU.
Yeah, and LSU surprised the shit out of me. I had thought they had no chance in this game. I thought it was Bama by at least 10. Coming off of, some not great performances, I expect an Alabama team to kind of right the ship and get their shit together. It didn't fucking happen. They kind of played from behind the whole way. And it didn't, this doesn't feel like one of those dominant Alabama teams. They're done. They're out. They can't beat Georgia. There's no way, in my opinion, even if they get a chance in the SEC championship game.
I mean, there's always a chance when you have the sort of talent that these teams do have in the top, 5 to 6 teams out there, but they're not going to be in those 5 to 6 teams anymore. So it's like, with Saban out there, it's kind of like the whole Belichick trope where it's like at any given day, they can go out and put a team together that could win a game. But they are definitely not the Alabama that we've seen for the past, decade, 2 decades almost.
Plus.
Yeah.
But what I am excited about? TCU is going to start getting some love after this week. TCU is about to hop way up in the standings, could potentially be 4. I think the committee will still hold them out, though. They'll probably be behind Michigan just because TCU, not a big-time school, not a lot of big-time money. And the NCAA is about their money. So speaking of, if you guys have not seen it, published another one of my papers I had to write for class, and it's on the NCAA and governance. You can go check that out on the Facebook group. I feel like it's a pretty good little article, and the NCAA can lick my asshole. I hate everything about the way they run their operation.
All right.
So, you got anything else on college football?
No, sir. Just getting closer to that college football playoff, and that's kind of the most exciting part for me, other than watching these future draft prospects.
Yeah, I mean, watching the draft prospects is always a good thing. But when I got a team in the fight, like I do with Ohio State pretty much every year, I got to make sure I keep up with my college football. And yes, I'm very excited for college football playoff to almost fucking be here. So what is going on here? But without anything else, are we ready to hop into the NFL?
Yeah, I think so. Should be good to go there.
All right. So we will go back. We will do a quick recap of Thursday night.
Sorry, I just pulled up our feed, unfortunately, on the phone.
Yeah.
And everything else on Facebook.
Got it. I can't tell. So it says my connection is unstable. Have I been choppy at all?
Audio wise, I haven't noticed that at all.
Okay. What about video wise?
Every once in a while, it'll jump a little bit, but we should be good. As long as you got the audio, then that's what we really need.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can hear me. All right, so let's do a quick recap. Thursday night football. Philadelphia Eagles take on the Texans, and this is a fucking much closer game than I think anybody expected. The Texans were scrappy in this, man, and Dameon Pierce is an absolute fucking stud. Really sad he did not get in the end zone, but he can absolutely be a workhorse back in this league. The Eagles, I mean, they did what they had to do to win, but they did not appear dominant like we would expect to see between, a 8-0 and a 1-6-1 team. So what were your takeaways
before this game?
Yeah, 1-5-1 before this game.
Yeah, that I thought there was always that potential for the backdoor cover, kind of like we alluded to on social media when we were making our picks for this game. The Eagles are a phenomenal team. I personally like seeing those undefeated teams go down. I just do. So I was rooting for the Texans to win this game. I didn't really think that they had much of a chance, but after watching that first half, I was like, okay, we got something brewing here. Maybe this is actually a good trap game. Maybe the Eagles just were not preparing for the Texans because they watched what happened, in weeks prior, with Derrick Henry getting another 200-yard rush game on them and things like that. I don't think anyone truly expected this to be as close as it was. And the fact that it was closer, within 12 points, I'm not going to say it gives a blueprint for other teams, but it does actually show the possibility that the Eagles
There might be some chinks in the armor.
Yeah, they could be taken down a little bit. And the problem is that the Eagles' schedule for the rest of the year almost seems like a cakewalk. I mean,
yeah. So there's a
pretty
potential
damn
they
easy.
could go 16-0 based on the rest of their schedule because it's not good. They're the best teams they play are the Cowboys and the Giants for the rest
Yeah.
of the way.
You've got Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, and Giants again. Now the Giants have had a good year.
Yeah.
But they ended up taking an L last week in Seattle. They might be able to give them some headaches. The Colts, if somehow they're able to turn it around with Sam Ellinger back there, maybe. Titans, I think, have a decent opportunity the way that they've been playing. They're on a bit of a tear right now.
They've been running the ball much better. I'll be interested to see what happens with Malik Willis if he continues to see any time on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they start doing some packages. I mean, he didn't look great, but
and then the Cowboys, like you said. So that's which the Cowboys didn't look great last time, but they also were going with technically their backup quarterback in Cooper Rush. So we'll see. I like seeing those undefeated teams go down. Props to the Eagles and what they've been doing this year, though. It's not me just being like an Eagles hater, even though I have reason to dislike them in general. But I can't really fault how well they're playing. As much shit as we've given Howie Roseman for being the GM there, and how much I think that he is horrible. Somehow they've constructed a pretty solid fucking team there. And
they're very good, and they're still getting better because they didn't even get their fucking D tackle in that game. I forgot who the fuck they traded for.
They traded for Quinn.
Oh yeah, not D tackle, D end. Yeah, Robert Quinn.
But they are hurting right now. They do have some injuries between. They do have a nose tackle down. The guy drafted Davis out of Georgia. Gigantic dude. He's down. They just, I believe, lost another interior piece there. So they've got some injuries.
The refrigerator that runs a fucking 5 flat.
Yeah. But I don't know. They're kind of the class of the NFL right now and a team to watch.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else on this game before we start diving into some of our other games for the week? Oh, actually, I know we did have one more thing that we needed to talk about storyline wise outside of the game. So actually, before we go into storyline, we just recap Thursday night. We're going to pull up the picks, and your boys are on fucking heaters right now. Me especially. I am well over the 500 mark now. Thank Christ. Needed to get back up over it. I'll go in one more. Maybe two. There we go. All right. So I had a fucking great week last week. I went 11-4, and I am now firmly back up over 500, 63, 59, and 1. Evo, you went 9-6. You are 67, 54, and 2. Still plus week for both of us. We are both now over 500. We're off to a good start this week. Let's keep the fucking hot streak going. Let's make some goddamn money. Any of these games upset you or surprise you that we didn't get?
The Vegas one, definitely. That was a complete blowout. Vegas didn't put up any points. So
atrocious.
That could be pretty telling for the rest of their year. Beyond that, nothing too outlandish. I guess to be completely honest, we both picked wrong on the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Browns had themselves
a fucking night. Game. They looked fantastic. Browns don't have a game this week, so they'll take a little bit of time to talk about them real quick. They looked great. Jacoby looked great. The defense played incredible. Obviously, they're missing Jamar Chase, but they still have really good fucking receivers over there outside of Jamar. We were able to get pressure. We moved Sione Takitaki into a little bit more of a Mike spot. It worked fantastic for him. We're getting some pressure generation now from some young guys in a was it Michael? Not Michael Thomas. I can't remember his last name or his first name. Thomas at the DN spot. But like we're getting much, much better. Now, am I ready to hop on the okay, we've found it out, we've caught our stride? No, absolutely not. but that was a massive fucking win. It keeps us 2 games out of first place with, I think, 2 winnable games coming up. We're going to lose to the Bills, but I believe we can beat the Bucks, and I believe we can beat the fucking Dolphins. So if we can do that before Deshaun gets back, I feel very happy about where we are, and we have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. But I thought we were done. I thought we were buried. I picked Bengals money line. Didn't happen. I will take that loss to be happy about my Browns, though, because I had a good week outside of that in general. Jags, Vegas, and Giants. I mean, some of those games were supposed to be close. Some of them weren't, but I felt pretty good about it.
Yep, you're definitely making a good comeback here and getting yourself above 500, which is really, like I said, I'm shooting for above 500 on my picks overall for the year, and doing that so far. So unless I have a real stinker of a week here in the near future, we should be looking pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and listen, a professional sports gambler hits about 55% of his bets. So I want to say it right now. I think you are about at 55%, maybe a little bit more. And I'm at like 51.5, almost 52%. So you're right at the mark where you need to be. I still got a little bit of work to do, but we're going to get into some picks now. We're going to see if we can fucking keep the streak going. But after we talk about the wild shit going on inside the NFL in terms of who the hell is going to own teams and who might not be owning teams. If you've been living under a rock, the commies are in a bad way. I mean, they always typically are, but they're even worse off now. There's another investigation going into the Washington Commanders. Dan Snyder is looking to sell the team. There is a lot of storylines. I believe the Washington Post is the one who published all this shit again. And we come to find out Jeff Bezos wants to buy the team. This is wrapped up nice and neat with a little bow. Jeff Bezos has always wanted to buy the team. He doesn't like Snyder. They have done several hit pieces on him. Snyder knew he was about to be ousted. He's been in deep shit with the league for quite some time. He decides to sell to salvage as much money as possible. They do another hit piece in the Washington Post. They're trying to make him look bad. Bezos outright comes out and says, hey, you know what? I want to buy the team. And he's probably hoping that he can get it for a discount with all the shit that's going on. That's the way I see it. I know you have a little bit different spin, but it reads like a fucking a novel that a spy novel.
Yeah. Look, the league has been trying for years to get shit to stick on Dan Snyder. Everything seems to roll off because at the end of the day, the owners almost don't care about anything other than just their money and their bottom line. And that slowly has been hurting them, especially because Washington can't get a new stadium. They were going to basically get it mostly public funded. That wasn't able to happen after all the crap came out about Dan Snyder. And that really pushed the ownership to be like, okay, maybe we need to remove this guy. I guess he hasn't been liked the entire time that he's been an owner pretty much. And then it wasn't until there was the scandal that we talked about, months ago about how apparently he was like shaving ticket prices. Ticket sales, and there's a bunch of different sales within the league that are shared amongst ownership groups. Teams get to keep a certain amount of the cut, and then the rest of it goes into a pool and is spread evenly amongst the owners, including ticket sales. And apparently he was misreporting some of those ticket sales to keep some of the extra money. And once the owners found out, hey, you are keeping some money from us, that's when old white men get upset. So now they're looking for anything they can to get after him. There's this newest report of a federal investigation into possible crimes with taxes and things like that, looking into him. At the end of the day, if they find nothing as far as like him defrauding the government, if they find anything as far as him like defrauding the league, they're going to publish that in their report. And that'll be enough for the league to get him kicked out. There won't necessarily be criminal charges or anything placed against him, but it'll be enough for the ownership group to come out and say, I think they need 24 owners to say, yes, you have to sell the team.
Yeah, 67% of the vote is what you need to kick out an owner, and they would have it, I think. But I don't think we'll get to that point. Snyder's going to sell the team before any of this ever happens. And he's not going to sell it to Bezos out of pure fucking spite. If Bezos comes in with the best offer, I don't think he will take it. I think he will tell Bezos to fucking lick his ball sack and sell it to anybody else because Bezos has literally done a hit spot on him to try to get to buy this team.
Now that's definitely possible, but I think at the end of the day, he's just going to try to get as much money as he can. And from the reports that I've seen, like you said, he is probably not going to get to the point where the league has to force him to sell. He is probably going to have to, or just going to sell beforehand, because if it gets to the point where the league tells him that he has to sell,
then that's when you're getting it for fucking pennies on the dollar.
That's when it's going to be heavily discounted. So he went ahead and hired a bank, I don't remember which bank, to help support him. Yeah, to try to sell the team, because he's going to try to sell it for as much as he can right now. And because he's trying to sell it for as much as he can, that's why I think that the Bezos play could still be an option. There's other groups out there that are looking to possibly buy it. The owner, and I can't think of his name on the top of my head, who tried to buy the Broncos before the Waltons came in and outbid him. He'd be the first ever African-American owner of a football team. That'd
be awesome.
He is in play again. There's talks about RG3 and Durant and people like that trying to get an ownership group together.
I don't want a conglomerate of fucking bullshit owners like they have down with the Miami Marlins.
If we want the same sort of issues, I mean, Kyrie could try to buy the team, I guess. But either way, he's going to try to sell it for as much as he can right now. And Bezos has almost infinite money. So I could potentially see that happening. Either way, from the reports that I've seen, it sounds like this is going to be the most lucrative sale of a team yet in NFL history. The Broncos sale was somewhere in the $4-some-odd billion range. They're expecting this one to go for upwards of $7 billion for this team, despite all the issues that there are, and despite taking on basically a bad franchise with now a bad history in the past decade, a horrible stadium that either needs to be renovated or more than likely completely rebuilt. And we're going to be looking at, and I fully believe this, I don't believe that we're going to have a Commanders team in 5 years. I believe that they will be a different name again. So we will go from the Redskins to the Washington football team to the Commies. Like, it is going to a new team name, which I don't think we've ever really seen that much turnover in team apparel, team naming rights, things like that. I fully expect that will happen because the Commie name has not been well received.
It is not. I mean, we're calling them commies on an internet show, like where anybody could see it. Like, it's not a great name.
Fans are rejoicing of the Commanders. They want him out. And
they've wanted him out for quite some time.
Yeah, the whole public funding thing for the stadium will probably happen as soon as he's out, because representatives in the area, the old RFK Stadium, I believe, is RFK, which is being used. It was used for like arena football and things like that. Is still standing. It is set to be demolished 2023, and that would be the primary site that they could build on. However, it is owned by the state right now, and is some sort of protected land. Basically is what they've deemed it as. So, but they are willing to allow a stadium to be built on there, given the right circumstances. They were almost there with Dan Snyder before all.
Given the right circumstances, which is basically anybody but fucking Dan Snyder can build a stadium here.
Now, the only thing that it sounds like could be a bit of a hiccup with this, as far as someone coming in with a bonkers offer, is that this team is going to be going for, like I said, probably upwards of $7 billion, unless it gets to the point where the ownership forces him out. For a new stadium, you are looking at least $3 billion.
3-4.
Okay, the new Vegas stadium was supposed to be $3 to $4 billion, and after it was all said and done, it was closer to 10.
Yeah, so it was almost 10. I think the Bills' new stadium proposal is $4 billion,
and that's it. As with any of these proposals, this is going to go up. It always does whenever building happens.
Inflation, baby.
So you're going to be looking at a $10 or more billion acquisition in order to get this team on the right path. The NFL has talked recently about adding expansion teams, possibly into Europe and stuff like that. You are essentially
I'm in for it, but
you are essentially buying an expansion team already, because you almost don't even have the bones of a team right now, other than the fact that you got players.
Defense.
I'm not even talking about you got players on the team. You got a coach, but Rivera's going to be a scapegoat. He'll be gone.
Yes.
And by the time that a new
It's
ownership
sad.
group takes over and cleans house, because they will not keep people in that front office that are there right now, they want to clean the old shit of Dan Snyder off that team. You're looking at 5 years minimum, I believe, in order for the stadium
before
to be
you
rebuilt,
actually get to do anything that you want, because you're going to
rebranding,
rebrand. Well,
all
I
that
don't know if
stuff.
they will rebrand. I think I agree with you. I think they probably will, or at least change something along the lines, because
So at that point,
name is not
you're buying an expansion team. And
Yeah,
so
you're
you might
starting
as well
over again.
buy an expansion team, possibly in an entirely new market in Europe. So you might have some big players that might be like, maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait. That's the only thing that I think that could not derail this, but it could bring the price down some, because there's a heavy initial investment into this team if someone buys it. It's going to be interesting to watch and see.
I think they'll get public funds, though, when somebody new gets in for a stadium. They
I-
won't get
I
any
do.
fucking public. They will not get a dime of public funds while Dan Snyder's there. But once he's out, they'll get public funds.
Yeah. But it's something definitely keep track of and watch, because I'm not a Commanders fan by any means, but
Fan of Taylor Heineke, but that's,
as a fan of a certain team and understanding the fan base, you don't want the fan base to completely be going through that the whole time, unless they're the Green Bay Packers, because they own the team. Apparently, the fans do, which is just bullshit way to get money.
Correct,
but
there's 100% correct.
It's got to suck for those fans, and so nice to see some life and have strong ownership there, and have that team go back to kind of its roots where they used to be a really good team.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
I don't have hate for that organization, like their fan base. I hate their fucking owner. I hate everything about their owner. He's a fucking scumbag. He is the scummiest of scumbags. But I feel bad for them. I understand. I'm a Browns fan. I understand what it's like to be stuck in this fucking turmoil, constantly changing things over. But ours is typically coaches and GMs, whereas you guys have been pining for a new goddamn owner since probably the day he stepped in there.
Yeah.
So,
but with that, we can probably move on. There was, the trade deadline that just happened. A lot of big trades that happened.
Yes.
The most, like the most trades that has happened. And the only real news with that is something that I actually posted on our social media today, is that a bunch of teams actually contacted the league offices saying like, hey, we need to put in a vote to move the trade deadline.
100% on point with this, because the season is extended.
Yes, they want to move it to week 10 or week 12. And I'm all for it, because as
10,
the season
12
progresses,
is too late. 12 is too late.
I'm not even necessarily against it going to 12. I haven't thought about it deep enough yet, or had enough, opposing viewpoints. But as the season continues to get longer and we have more games and stuff like that added, you have more injuries, more things like that, you start to know who your team is. Mm-hmm. And you start to know whether or not you really have a chance at a postseason the longer that the year goes on, which means that teams will be more willing to be opportunistic as far as trading players to get better picks as the year goes on longer. Those teams that actually do have a chance of winning something might be more willing to give up some capital to make their run this year. Which is interesting to me. I mean, you have more injuries and things like that happen as the season goes along. So I'm all for it. At least the 10 games, if not 12. And the way that this, trade deadline went down this year was relatively explosive. So it was pretty cool to watch. And I'd like to see more of that, because that's definitely exciting. We'll go through, some of the major trades and things like that happened as we go through the games and picks and things like that. But if you want to see a full roll-up of everyone that was traded, everyone that was moved, we did a brief synopsis on the social media page. You can also find links on ESPN to the actual full trade deadline tracker, and grades and things like that. But with that, we can move into the rest of the week and all of our associated picks and whatnot. So this week, we actually it is an interesting schedule.
I just put that banner up there and you switched it on me.
I'm sorry. We do have 6 teams on bye this week. Which is the
so there's fewer games. There are fewer games, and I think I'm actually going to have you do a full slate parlay for me today, because there are fewer games, less games I could fuck up. So I'm ready to get into these fucking picks. Yeah. But speaking of that, we had a comment come in. I don't know if we pulled this up yet. What betting apps do we recommend? So for me, I use FanDuel and I use Caesars. Evo, I believe you are a Caesars guy as well. Yes, only Caesars.
Only Caesars. I only have one sports book open, and that's just on the Caesars. And it's mostly because it was the first one that you talked about and recommended, and I was like trying to get a free jersey, which I never received.
Fuckers, I got mine. It's right there.
So I went with that, and I couldn't necessarily say that it's better or worse than anything else that's out there.
Producer Amber says she likes DraftKings. So here's the thing, like it depends on what you're looking for. At some point, I'm hoping that the show is actually going to have to hammer down an official sports book. Like we're going to just go with one, and that's to be the one that we'll promote. Maybe we'll catch some clout that way.
But when we talk about our odds and stuff on the show, that is straight.
Typically, we're pulling from Caesars,
ESPN. That's what ESPN uses. So
yep.
That's what we've been going with.
That's another reason I like Caesars is because Caesars and ESPN are mirrored up. So typically, most people get their sports news from ESPN, and the fact that those are mirrored up works for me. Now, I do like the CBS stuff, but I believe CBS their stuff also matches Caesars for the most part. I think, all of it is powered by Caesars Sportsbook. So honestly, like when you're looking at most of these lines, you're going to see the Caesars line. That's the line that typically gets put out. Caesars was the biggest sportsbook in the world, but they didn't have an online platform, and now they do because it started becoming legal. So I like Caesars. It's great. Joe, thanks for hopping in here. Bye week.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Yep. And like I said, 6 teams on bye. We have the Browns, Cowboys, Broncos, Giants, Steelers, and 49ers all on bye this week. And like Mike said, that means we have a lot less games going on this week, 3 less games, unless you're counting the other bye weeks. But what's interesting to me before we actually get into these games is that we have a lot of early morning games and very few afternoon games on Sunday. You have 2 afternoon games and then 1 evening game on Sunday. I feel like that was a big loss on the NFL's part because you could have had more people watching games and stuff in the afternoon, but that's just me.
Well, so here's my thing on this, and I understand what you're saying, but the afternoon games, they're going to be a little bit different because of this is daylight savings weekend. I think there's that change that's a little different. Now, I know you guys out in Arizona, you don't experience daylight savings, but I got an extra hour of sleep this morning. It's fantastic, even though I was still up at the ass crack of dawn because of my children. It does make a little bit of a difference on, some schedules and adjustments. I think maybe that this week is this way just because of daylight savings. Hopefully there will be some more afternoon games as we go on throughout the season, because this is too much. We got 2 fucking games.
A little hinky. But either way, we can go ahead and start into the slate of games. So starting early in the morning, today, I forget that it's Sunday, huh?
Yeah, we're Sunday. We got games in an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna fire through these bad boys, and I do have plenty of notes that I actually wrote all my stuff down. So we do the research. So let's see if I can read my stuff here.
Last week we put liquid paper on a bee. Yeah, it died.
We got Chargers and Falcons being played in Atlanta. The line is Chargers -2.5 over owner of 49.5.
So I want to say this is a slam dunk for me. It seems very simple. And it's the Chargers, but they have not been playing very well. They got guys that are banged up. They have a lot of fucking injuries. Like I was just going through this list of inactives and things like that. Keenan Allen, out. Mike Williams, out. DeAndre Carter, questionable. Donald Parham,
he just got upgraded like 2 minutes ago. He got upgraded.
DeAndre Carter did?
Active.
Oh,
like 2 minutes ago. I just had the notification pop up.
Yeah. Dustin Hopkins, out. They are fucking so hurt. I want to take them. It makes sense to hammer them by 2.5. That seems easy on Atlanta, but they are really fucking banged up, man.
Well, let me get into some of these stats here for you.
All right, go
It
ahead.
might help out a little bit. So Herbert right now, he's the 27th in yards per attempt in the league at 6.5 yards per attempt. That's not good for a guy that, we think is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, but he has had a lot of injury trouble on that team this year.
Don't give Wes any ammunition to back up his fucking statement that Herbert won't be a starter.
I don't think it's Herbert's fault as much as I think it might be the coaching and injuries. But Atlanta 3-0 against the spread at home as an underdog this year. They're 2-1 straight up. The Chargers, they are still allowing 5.7 yards per rush attempt on defense, which is pretty atrocious. If you're getting that much rushing, just run the ball all day. Every 2 runs, you got a first down. Herbert, he is 10-4 against the spread when he's playing in the Eastern or Central time zones, which he is. And Mariota is 11-21 against the spread coming off of a win. So we have some stats that can kind of promote Atlanta for you here, some that can promote the Chargers. It is an interesting one for sure, because this is a Chargers team that at 4-3, we expected them to be a lot better. But they just have not produced this year. I think that it's going to be a bit of an issue not having those top tier wide receivers out, even though they're going up against an Atlanta secondary that is really porous. This Atlanta team also, all they do is run the ball, and I think that's what we're going to see a lot of today, is a lot of running the ball. And when you look at the Chargers, that allowing that 5.7 yards per attempt on defense, that's tough. Eckler is going to get his, but he isn't just a runner. He's dual threat. He's going to get those receiving yards as well. I still think that the Chargers are probably going to win this game, just because they're a better team, top to bottom, in my opinion. But the Falcons have done a fantastic job of hanging in games and hanging in close, to the point that I'm going to go ahead and take the Falcons plus the points here. I think this could end up being a close game. I don't like the 2.5, honestly. I really don't. I'm just taking Chargers money. Chargers money.
Yeah, I can't fucking decide if I want to do the points, man. This is a tough game because the Chargers should be much better. They're beat the fuck up. Their defense has been really bad about stopping the run. That is all Atlanta does now. They just did activate Cordell Patterson off the IR as well. I don't know if he's playing today, but I don't think it would make that much of a difference because they've been really efficient at running the ball. Fuck. I am going to go with Chargers money line. Yeah, that's a smart bet. That's the safest bet. I'm trying to hit a full slate parlay this week, so I'm going with the easy one, going Chargers on the money line. You're taking the same, yes?
Yes, sir. All right, we'll move on to our next game here. We have the Dolphins and the Bears being played in Chicago, Soldier Field. It is going to be a nice 52 degrees and sunny there. The line is Miami -4, over under a 46.5. This is a Bears team that made a bunch of moves here at the trade deadline. They got rid of Roquan Smith, sent him over to Baltimore. In return, they got not in return, but they actually were able to make a trade for Chase Claypool. So they got a little better on offense, technically worse on defense. They also, traded away Quinn a little bit before the deadline to the Eagles. So that defense actually has lost 2 of its better players realistically in that front 7. The Dolphins, on the other hand, they traded for Bradley Chubb and also got themselves Jeff Wilson, who knows that Mike McDaniel's scheme really well. And he's actually had a very solid year. So I think he's going to fit in perfect with that Dolphins offense. I don't expect Claypool to make that drastic of a difference on offense, quite honestly. I think he's a good receiver, but I don't expect him to make that much of a difference there for the Bears, at least not this week. And probably not a ton for the rest of the season, even though he immediately becomes wide receiver 1 there. Some other notes here. The Dolphins are 5-0 when Tua is playing a full game. He is going to be expected to play the full game here. Chicago has lost 9 straight versus teams with a winning record, and Tua has 112.7 passer rating, which leads the NFL. This all comes down to the fact that unless the wind it starts getting windy there and affecting his ability to pass. I think that Tua is going to have too many receiving options, and they might actually be able to get a little bit of a run game going with Jeff Wilson, where that offense is going to completely outpace the Bears defense. Dolphins are a pretty damn good team this year. So I fully expect them to win this game. And I'm willing to take the -4 points from Miami.
I'm doing the exact same thing, and I'm actually going to admit one time where I was wrong. The top 2 receivers right now in the NFL for receiving yards on passes thrown over 10 yards down the field, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Tua's pushing the ball down the field, man, and he's doing a pretty damn good job. He's got really good fucking receivers. They just got better. I think Jeff Wilson will make that team better. The Bears are not great. I don't expect to see much of anything from Claypool today. If we do, there is nothing that has changed my mind about how bad the Bears are. I think they are trying to get better. They're trying to bring in some additional weapons to help out Justin Fields, but it's not enough. I'm on the Dolphins -4, and I love that because I thought it was going to be more than this. I feel very comfortable taking Dolphins -4 as part of my full slate parlay.
All right. Next, we have the Panthers and the Bengals. This is being played in Cincinnati. Bengals coming off that big-time loss there to the Browns. Burrow has never beat the Browns.
Never.
So
not one fucking time.
Kind of watch in future years. The line is currently Cincinnati -7, over under a 42.5. And the Panthers have been playing better since all these changes have happened, since they got rid of CMC, since they went to PJ Walker as their starting quarterback, since Wilkes took over as the head coach. They've been staying close in these games, and realistically, they could have won that game last week after beating Tampa Bay the week before. They could have won that game last week if it wasn't for that, penalty that they received for DJ Moore taking his helmet off on that late score.
That shouldn't have been a penalty to begin with because he's off the playing field. They got robbed, and I'm glad they did because, actually, it didn't matter. They could have lost the parlay for me there because the Bengals lost the parlay for me, even though I was happy about losing that. They never should have been penalized. They should have won. They should have won last week. Now, their kicker did them no fucking favors because not only did he miss the extra point to win, he misses the game-winning field goal in overtime from a shorter distance. So that is concerning. Now, the Bengals are they don't know who they are yet. They have not got the running game going at all. Really glad that Joe Mixon catches passes when I made that trade because he has not run the rock very well, but I do expect this Bengals to get a bounce back here. Now, 7 seems like a lot for a team that is playing better with a PJ Walker and or kind of a ragtag group on offense now. It's surprising to me, but 7 seems like a lot for this, doesn't it? Or is this the season as a culmination kind of playing into this line? Because the way they're playing now, it doesn't seem like they're playing that bad.
It seems like a lot of points for the Bengals to drop there, and that's why I'm taking the Panthers +7 here. I think that they actually, since all these changes have happened, and made them a little bit more of a balanced team where they have to rely a little bit more on a normal running game and not so much on the arms of some of their quarterbacks. They've been keeping it closer, and so I'm going to take the Panthers plus the points here. They're a bit of a scrappy team, guys fighting for their jobs here in the future. Also, some quick news that I did just have pop up: Cordero Patterson is in.
I got the same one. I was going to bring it up.
And Darren Waller is out, so some late game inactives, things like that. I'm going to be taking the Panthers plus the points.
I'm going to pop this up, and I'm going to agree with Gabe. I'm going to take the Bengals on the money line. I expect a bounce back. I expect a win. I don't think they can cover. But I'm still not confident in the Panthers just yet. If they do it for one more week, if they cover this and lose a close game, then I'm going to start looking for the Panthers to cover a lot more. I'm just not there yet. And since I'm doing a full slate parlay, I'm going to go with the safe option, and I'm going to go Bengals on the money line. I think both of these could absolutely hit yours and mine, Panthers plus the points. I just want to see it for one more week before I start hopping on the Panthers are an improved team and they can cover. I don't know if they'll win a lot, but
it's real tough for me to take the Panthers plus the points because the Panthers, maybe I'm just getting a little bit more ballsy here and stuff like that because I've had those better picks. The safer bet here it definitely is the Bengals money line for sure, and I don't blame anyone for taking that.
And we got Joe Rockstar hopping in here as well. He's on the Bengals. Listen, I Bengals money line for me definite. I do think that the Panthers can cover though. I like the bet, especially for the odds because the difference there in the odds. You're talking Bengals on the money line. You're minus 345. Panthers on the cover minus 110. That's way better odds. That's good fucking money, and I think they actually they have a chance. I'm gonna play it safe here. I'm going to try to get up into that 55% realm, like where Evo's at on my bets. 52 is good, but I want to be up that 55, 56% win percentage. So sticking with my Bengals. Or not my Bengals, the Bengals. Fuck the Bengals.
All right. Next game, we have the Packers and the Lions being played in Detroit. The line is currently Green Bay minus 3.5 over under a 49.5. Rodgers.
This is going to be the game that possibly breaks my parlay.
So this Rodgers, he has 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in his last 4 meetings versus Detroit. Detroit has failed to cover 4 straight games, even though they started 3-0 against the spread. And Green Bay has lost 4 straight. That's one shy of matching Aaron Rodgers' career worst. That's pretty much all I have for this. This is everyone saying this is a get right game for the Packers.
It is.
It should be. You can have a get right game at this point. You can have a game that you can go out and win and feel better about yourself, but you're not getting the team right at this point. They are rough. Now, Alan Lazard is going to be playing this game. He was questionable, had that shoulder injury. But I've got to stick with
also questionable, I believe.
I got to stick with, what my narrative. I'm going to take the Lions plus the points here. I've bet on the Lions quite a bit because I really liked that team, and they have failed me. So I might as well keep on doing the same stupid thing. I don't have any faith in this Packers team though in being any good. Now you'd think that after one loss, Aaron Rodgers would kind of right the ship and yell at his players and blame them for everything and get them in line. And then it happens again and again. So.
Yeah. 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah. And albeit they did play the Bills, in that 3-game losing stretch.
Right. They were always going to lose that game.
But, I mean, this is not the Packers team that people are used to. Packers fans need to quit complaining. You've had, out of the past 26 years.
30 years of fucking Hall of Fame quarterback play.
But it's maybe it's the last 26 seasons they've gone to the playoffs 20 times. That is a better hit rate than pretty much any other team, maybe the Patriots. The team is completely mismanaged top down. They've mismanaged contracts. They tried to go out and get players in trades and didn't do enough to be able to get Brandon Cooks, didn't do enough to be able to get Claypool. They inquired about Darren Waller again. Everyone said, bye-bye, don't want to talk to you. So, again, Aaron Rodgers gets left with no options there to throw to. Their rushing attack has been all right, but that's not enough to win games, especially when your defense is playing crappy too. So look,
Aaron's done after this year because his team will not go. They will not help him.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. It's for me. I'm just going to take the Lions plus the points. 3.5 points. It's a more of a wish than anything. The smart play here definitely is to take the Packers money line, because like everyone's saying, it's supposed to be a get right game for them. It'll be a feel good game for them if they get a win, but they're going to have a feel good win against a 1-6 Lions team, which really isn't a feel good game. I guess if you want Packers fans, you could call it a trap game if you lose. That's about it.
It's not a trap game at this point because they're not very good. Now, one thing that does concern me about the Lions is why are they trading a fantastic offensive weapon within the division unless they're kind of punting on the season? They know who they are, they know what they are, and they're not feeling very high on themselves. That is concerning to me, especially that Dan Campbell coach team. I expected to be much better. They're still a scrappy team. They still play teams mostly close, but they're just not getting over that hump. And then they trade away a really good offensive weapon in TJ Hawkinson to you guys. I don't understand that move, and it makes me concerned about the direction in which that franchise is headed.
Not only that, they traded him plus picks. So net I believe the value ends up being TJ Hawkinson is worth the 69th overall pick. Is the way that the trade value charts work out, which I'll take that any day. We gave up a second, but we're getting a 2/4 back. Essentially, one of those fourths could turn into a fifth or something, a fifth if we win a playoff game this year. That's worth it to me, especially when we have Irv Smith go down for around 10 weeks possibly, so we wouldn't be seeing him until the playoffs. We need another tight end option, and quite honestly, TJ Hawkinson is a better blocker. TJ Hawkinson is a better receiver.
Yeah.
And so, and he's cheap right now. He's $500,000 this year. He's
for you guys, it's fantastic, but it doesn't make sense to me for the Lions, and that concerns me about the direction of the team. So I am going to go. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go Green Bay on the money line, just because, like, I expected the Lions to maybe just hold pat. Maybe I didn't expect them to ship off one of their really good offensive weapons to an in division rival. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, Mama Carlisle, I agree with you. They do have enough moxie to hand them their fifth loss. This could be the game that breaks my fucking parlay, because I think the Lions can win, but the safe bet is Green Bay on the money line, so I'm going to stick with that safe bet. Like, this is a tough game to go because neither one of these teams are very good.
Shout out Mama Carlisle. I love it. All right, next game, we have the Colts and the Patriots. All right. This game is going to be played in Foxborough. The line is New England -5 points, over under of 40.5. The Colts just fired their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting after they just switched quarterbacks. I can't necessarily disagree with firing the offensive coordinator. I feel like Frank Reich probably is more of the guy in charge there anyways. Of that offense. Belichick defenses typically will do well against rookie or young quarterbacks starting for their first season, which is Sam Ehlinger. He's not a rookie. However, their defenses do struggle against mobile quarterbacks, which is one of the big upsides of Sam, is that, he rushed for over 1,000 yards there at Texas. He is thick in the legs. He is willing to move around the pocket and get outside the pocket, run the ball a little bit. So that could be a bit of an interesting watch on how he performs against that Patriots defense. Indianapolis has lost 6 straight road games versus New England. And for Indy, the under, if you're betting over under, the under is 7-1 this season. They are averaging total points per game between them and their opponent 35.8 total points per game, which is pretty rough. Another big thing for Indianapolis here, Jonathan Taylor is out for this game.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is out. There's going to be a backfield led by Deion Jackson, Philip Lindsay, and then Jordan Wilkins. I don't like that combo. I don't like Sam Ehlinger to go out there first time facing a Bill Belichick-led defense. This screams to me that this is a kind of a get right game for the Patriots. But they still have a lot of fucking question marks as well. I still expect to see Bailey Zappi at some point. If we see Mac Jones struggle, there is a very high chance that we will see Bailey Zappi. They don't know what they're doing on offense, but that defense is pretty damn good. I mean, any Bill Belichick-led defense is going to be pretty good. So give me the Bill Belichick defense against a first-time guy going against that in Sam Ehlinger. I'm going to go New England on the money line. 5 is too much because I'm still not sold that the Patriots are even halfway decent. But I'm really down on the Colts right now. They got a lot of turnover going on with their offense. I mean, they're going to run the same scheme, but new play caller coming in. I don't know what Sam Ehlinger is. I know he's mobile. I know he's got a big arm, but I need to see him do some things to win from the pocket. And they don't have their best weapon in Jonathan Taylor. So I got to go New England money line.
Who's the chucklehead out there calling plays for New England again? The former Bears head coach, Matt Patricia, correct?
He was the Lions head coach.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So the interesting thing is I'm actually not on this Patriots defense. I think that they are way worse than people give them credit for. Point in case that Bears game, and part of that is the mobile quarterback thing that I'm talking about, is that, they have difficulty with that. But on offense, Patricia, a defensive guy, is your play caller. And like I said, I've got notes here. I've done a lot of research. The one thing that kind of typically comes up about the Patriots offense in most of these things I'm looking in is their offense and play call on offense has become unbelievably predictable.
Yeah.
If they have a less than 3-yard gain on first down, they go to a screen pass like every time, which is kind of fucking crazy for a professional offense to have that understandable of a play sheet. The Colts have good defensive coaching. They've got some good defensive players. They have not played up to that level this year. But I mean, this is stuff that any defensive coordinator in the NFL should be able to pick up. I definitely think this game is going to be within 3 points. Like, I think it could be within 3 points. I'm not willing to take the spread on either of these. I'm going to do the same as you. I'm going to take Patriots money line because I think it's the safer play, but I feel pretty shaky about this game because I do think that the Colts could backdoor this line, and that they actually have a opportunity to win this game, especially having Sam another week under his belt of practice. And for what it's worth, this running back playing for the Colts in Jackson, in the couple games that he did play and start, he was putting up good points, both receiving and rushing. Against Denver, 13, and Denver, solid defense, 13 rushes, 62 yards. And he had 4 catches for 29 yards, which is a pretty solid day for a guy who is kind of more of a no-namer. He was the third stringer, to be coming in at that point.
He is the guy that allows the Colts to trade away Naheem Hines over to the Buffalo Bills, because he can do some of those similar things that Naheem Hines has. He's cheaper. He's not looking for a new contract. So,
and against Jacksonville, 12 rushes, 42 yards, and a touchdown with 10 receptions and 79 yards.
Yeah.
So he's not necessarily a slouch. He gives you some options there. And that receiving core has definitely shown up a lot more for the Colts. So I do think that there's some opportunity there for the Colts to actually win this game. And I do think that they keep it closer to that 3-point margin. So that's why I'm not taking the line of this. I'll be taking the Patriots money line. I think this is a safer play, but I do think the Colts have a good chance of actually making this very competitive, if not winning.
All right.
Next game, we have the Bills and the Jets. So this is actually going to be kind of a fun one, even though the line wouldn't make it seem that way. Buffalo -11, over under of 46 being played in New Jersey. This is a home game for the Jets. Buffalo won both their games by 17 or more points versus the Jets last year. This is a bit of a different Jets team, though. And the only Kenny Pickett has a worse QBR than Zach Wilson of qualified quarterbacks. So I know you love that take.
Yeah. Zach Wilson fucking stinks. He's terrible at football. You know what he did last week? He threw for over 200 yards. He threw for like 280. But you know what else he did? He threw 3 really fucking bad interceptions, like atrocious interceptions. That Jets defense is not bad. However, they are constantly being put in a position where they are in a no-win spot, where they're going to give up points no matter what, because Zach Wilson is turning the ball over at an alarming fucking rate for how much he has played. He is trash. I'm going to dance all over his fucking grave. Like, I don't wish ill will on the man, but he stinks at football. And now people are starting to realize it. And here's another interesting tidbit that happened. Joe Flacco is no longer the backup quarterback of the Jets. Mike White is now the backup quarterback of this Jets team. He is going to be suited up. I think there is a very strong possibility that Mike White was not suited up for quite some time because of what happened last year, because he played really well when he got his opportunities, and people were questioning, well, who's our guy? Is it Mike White or is it Zach Wilson? Zach Wilson has all those physical traits that everybody loved. That's why we drafted him too. But Mike White is winning games. Now Zach Wilson has Mike White right on his goddamn doorstep, and I believe that there is a chance that we will see a change at quarterback. Maybe not this week, but in the near future, that Zach Wilson will be benched and Mike White will come in, because if this team continues to find a way to win, they're going to try to make the playoffs. That is a very big storyline that I don't think too many people are talking about, is the fact that Mike White is now dressed. That is going to play on Zach Wilson even more. Now there is more pressure on. I expect him to be absolutely atrocious in this game, going against a really good Bills defense. I hate taking spreads of this high. We talked about it last week. The Bills were in the same spot. I didn't like it. I wasn't going to take it because it was too much. It is not too much this week. I am going to play the odds, and I am going to take the fucking Bills to cover this week, even though they couldn't last week. Bills minus 11. I feel very confident in that, and that is a big fucking spread.
And look, I'm not going to change what I've been doing. I really don't take double-digit spreads like that. So I'm going to take the Bills money line. I think that's like the safest bet of the week. Is a Bills money line bet. This Jets team, props to them. They have shown a lot of moxie this entire year, but I feel like the team live and died when Breece Hall went down. They're not the same team. I believe James Robinson also is on the injury report. I'm not sure if he's going to be active, and even if he is, he might not be his full self. But I don't think that's going to even make that big of a difference. At the end of the day, the Bills are a supremely talented team when in comparison to pretty much any other team out there, except for maybe the Eagles and the Chiefs, and that's an any given Sunday type of thing.
James Robinson is questionable. He was a late add to the injury report, so that is not typically a good thing. Late in the week, you get tossed onto the injury report, so there's a good chance he won't play.
So for me, this is easy. Bills money line. It's a safe bet. I don't bet double-digit spreads unless I'm really cocky. Not to say that you are. I think that Bills Buffalo minus 11 actually is a relatively safe bet too.
I think they win by 2 touchdowns. No problem.
For me, I have 2 things that I'm really watching in this game, and that is how Sauce Gardner plays against probably Stephon Diggs, and does that open up.
He might be the best cornerback in the NFL right now.
Easily the defensive rookie of the year, I believe, at this point, the way that he's playing.
He's outstanding. And if everybody were listening to me at the very beginning, I could have told you. I did tell you that it was the best defensive player in the draft. The only reason I didn't pick him for defensive rookie of the year is because it typically goes to DNs who get some sacks. So I played the odds there. But Sauce Gardner is easily, and he has proven now that he is the best defensive player in this draft. He is balling out. Now, Garrett Stingley has been very good as well. So I cannot fault the Texans for taking him over.
He has been good, but
not on Sauce Gardner's level. Yeah. Sauce is
it's not a 1A, 1B. It is definitely a 1.
Sauce is,
and I wouldn't, to be completely honest, I think Stingley might be the third. You see what Tariq Woolen's doing there in Seattle, like, he might be the second. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that battle goes against Stephon Diggs. I think that's a huge test, and it does that open up Gabe Davis for more stuff down the field.
Yeah, Gabe Davis anytime touchdown is a fucking hammer this week. If you guys like betting Bills, if you like betting anytime touchdowns, Gabe Davis anytime touchdown is a fucking hammer this week. I would put a good chunk of change on that.
And then the other thing for me is Nyheim Hines did go to this Bills team. I think it's a very interesting ad because he is lightning fast. He's a great returner, and he's great out of the backfield as a receiving back. Yeah. Singletary has looked good this year, but adding another receiving option to this pass-heavy team will be interesting to see how he gets mixed in and if he's had enough time to really pick up the playbook and have some plays added for him there. So Bills money line for me. You're taking the Bills spread. We'll move on to our next one here. And for that, we have the Raiders and the Jaguars. So this one is
fucking game.
I feel like last week kind of changed things here. The line is Las Vegas minus 2.5 over under 48 after Vegas got completely demolished, put up a goose egg. You have Devontae Adams doing basically absolutely nothing out there. Again, we talked about this earlier. Waller is out for this game. Jacobs, after just tearing things up, Josh Jacobs for the Raiders doesn't put up any points. And this is a Jaguars team that, at 2-6, I think they're a better squad than that. I've been kind of banging the table on, hey, this is a team to actually pay attention to. This is a team that just doesn't know how to win. They are a good team, but they can't figure out how to get a win. Las Vegas, again, coming off a 24-0 loss to the Saints. And again, they were 1-point favorites in that game. Jacksonville has lost and failed to cover on 5 straight games. Vegas is 0-4 on the road this year. And the biggest stat for me is that Carr has failed to cover on 7 straight as a road favorite. I'm going to be taking the Jaguars plus the points here on this one.
Yeah.
I do think they're a better team. They have led in pretty much every game, and then they end up blowing it towards the end against this Raiders team that just cannot figure it out. A Raiders team who, the ownership, I guess, brought in Josh McDaniels for a fucking meeting about what the fuck is going on this last week.
He will be fired. I think he is the next guy to lose his job, and I think it happens in season.
It is not going well for the Raiders right now. They can't seem to figure it out. I'm taking the Jaguars plus the points here. I guess it's kind of like the same situation that's been going on with me in the Lions, where I keep on betting them and they keep on screwing me on these covers and stuff like that. But just the way that the Raiders played last week, maybe they do have a bounce back, but I do think that this Jaguars they've got a good defense, not a great pass rush, but a good defense. And they've got those weapons on offense and Etienne and Kirk and stuff like that, that once Lawrence kind of figures it all out, he can definitely utilize those. Look, Etienne, I talked earlier in the year about how, he's definitely more of a receiving back than a rusher. The past couple of games, especially since Robinson has left, he has shown that he can run between the tackles. So he's developing very nicely for that Jaguars team. I think they got a lot of great building blocks in place there. This is a team that, maybe not this year, unless they have a good run here in the second half. Next year is definitely going to be a team to watch. So Jaguars plus the points for me.
I was trying to decide which way I was going to go while we were doing this and while we were talking, and the Jags are not good, but the Raiders are so fucking bad too, man. Like, let me look up something real quick. You know what? Yeah. So I'm going to go Jags plus the 2.5 points as well. The Jags record, right? They're 2-6. They're not very good. But what they have done is they have scored more points than they have allowed, which means they're losing close games. 2.5 seems like a close game. Vegas is giving up more points than they have, got themselves there. Vegas is 163.4 points against 174. Jags points for 172, points allowed 158. They're at least outscoring the games that they have won. They're outscoring.
Do you think the Jags are do you think the Raiders are a better team than the Chargers?
No.
All right, Jags beat the Chargers.
Yeah, I know, but
38-10. They got that potential.
Those don't always line up the same way.
Right, but they got that potential.
I'm going to hop on board with the Jags, though. I'm going to hop on board with the Jags plus the points. I'm not going to take them outright to win, but the fact that they do at least, they have got more points than they've fucking given up, that makes a difference to me. They're losing close games. So give me the Jags in a close game, 2.5. Give me the points. Let's go Jags.
All righty. Next up, we have the Seahawks and the Cardinals being played in Glendale. The line is currently Arizona minus 1.5, over under of 49. This is another interesting one for me because, we beat the Cardinals last week, my Minnesota Vikings, and we kind of did what we have been doing a lot of the year, which is letting teams stay close and in the game. But the whole Call of Duty thing held out true there for Kyler Murray. He threw, I believe, he's 3 turnovers, something like that. I don't know. Not a great day there for him. I like the way the Seahawks team has been playing. Got a good win there against the Giants last week. Seahawk, man, I scribble on these notes here. They defeated Arizona already this year, 19-9 in week 6. They sacked Kyler Murray 6 times in that game. DeAndre Hopkins was not playing that game. I think he's the X factor in all of this. Kyler is 5-14 straight up in his career versus NFC West teams, 6-11-2 against the spread. Geno, on the other hand, is 13-3 against the spread in his last 16 starts. Cliff Kingsbury is 5-11 against the spread at home as a home favorite. And Pete Carroll is 18-9 against the spread in his last 27 as an underdog. So for me, I'm absolutely taking Seattle plus the points on this one.
Yeah.
I believe Seattle is going to win this game outright. I really do. So Seattle plus the 1.5 points for me all day.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing. I have no faith in this Cardinals team whatsoever. I really am happy that D-Hop is back. I hope D-Hop has a great game. You and I are playing in fantasy this week, so I need some D-Hop points, but I have no faith at all. Call of Duty is still fresh. People are starting to, level things up, and Kyler's going to be right on that train. I was not on Seattle last week. I was like, the Giants, I feel like they're better. And Geno keeps balling out. He keeps surprising me. I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not gonna make the same mistake again and not believe in Geno Smith. So I'm hopping on the same train as you. I'm going with the Seahawks plus 1.5.
Yep. Look, Seattle might have had the best draft class in this draft. They have found some gems in Tariq Woolen, Kenneth Walker. They got another cornerback out there whose name escapes me. They have done some really good things with this draft class and are surprising everyone. I mean, Geno's possibly the biggest surprise of the year next to, for most people, how bad the Packers are. But for me, it wasn't that much of a surprise. I mean, they've just been playing really great ball out there. And all these stats I was able to find, I don't try to cherry pick stuff. You'll see as I go through these things, I'll have stats that can kind of combat each other, and you can lean into whatever narrative you want. All this stuff this week for Seattle was promoting them to be able to win this game, especially against the spread. So yeah, Seattle plus 1.5 for me. Next game, we are looking at the Rams and the Buccaneers in Tampa, Florida. This game could be a shit show because both these teams have fucking sucked, especially when both of them were easy selections by people to make it deep in the playoffs and possibly go to the Super Bowl. Again, being played in Tampa, the line is Tampa Bay minus 3 points, over under of 42.5. So for this one, Brady is 2 games under 500 for the first time in his career. He is now fully divorced as well. I believe we talked about that last week.
We did.
And Bucks have failed to cover 6 straight games. That is tied for the longest against the spread streak in Brady's career. The Rams O-line is just fucking terrible. That is a verifiable fucking stat for you there. And Brady is 10-1 against the spread in his last 11 games when he is having more than 10 days of rest, which he did. It was a bit of a longer week for him here. So the one stat here that can promote either team is that Brady got himself some rest. There isn't a ton to go off of here. Both these teams have just been terrible. It's almost to the point where I'm willing to bet the under on this game of 42.5, which I wouldn't have thought I would have been saying at the beginning of the year if you talked about this game. I'm going to be leaning towards Tampa on this one, being that it's a home game for them. And despite all of their struggles, I do think that they have a relatively strong defense, and Brady has put up a lot of yardage. Maybe not a ton of points, but a lot of yardage on that offense, and they're just not getting things to connect and click as much as they could. All right, it's not a divorce. We'll call it newly single. We also had Mike A, which I think is Spicy Mike, popping in saying cards by 7 on that last game. Hope for you that's the case, Mike, but hope for me that it's not, because I want the pick to be right there. So newly single quarterback Tom Brady. He's not what he used to be, but I do think they'll win this game. I think it's going to kind of just be a shit show. Cam Akers active for this game though. They're stringing you on, Mike. I think you just need to cut bait on your fantasy team and get rid of that.
Fucking Cam Akers has been the bane of my fantasy team's existence this year. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
I'm gonna take Bucks money line on this one, and this is way closer to a toss up for me though than I want it to be.
Yeah, so neither one of these teams are very good. They're both, one's 3-5. Buccaneers have 146 points against 151, so they give up more. The Rams offense is a fucking atrocious. 118 fucking points against 157. So their defense is playing okay.
You
Their
have Cooper
offense
Kupp.
can't score any points.
Cooper Kupp is playing, but he is injured. It wasn't a sure thing that he was going to play, I believe, with an ankle injury. So Allen Robinson.
If Cooper Kupp makes and breaks that entire offense, there's a problem there.
Maybe they'll spread the ball out a little bit more, other than just the white guys and Kupp and Skoranek. Maybe give Allen Robinson a throw.
No, I just picked up Allen Robinson because in a different fantasy league, not one I'm playing with you, because another guy I had is out. My entire fucking wide receiver core is out in one league. So I'm hoping that Allen Robinson fucking does something, but I'm just not there. It's hard to bet against Tom. Tom has been down. I expect him to have a bounce back, so I'm going to go Bucks on the money line. That's what you took as well, yes?
Yep.
Tampa,
it's disappointing. Really thought this was going to be one of the more fun games to watch if you were looking at the schedule at the beginning of the year, and both these teams have just been big-time disappointments.
Dog shit. They're fucking not good.
All right, so we will go to our Sunday night game. This one is definitely going to be a lot more interesting. Should hopefully be a good watch. It is the Titans and the Chiefs being played in Arrowhead. Big line for this one. Kansas City minus 12.5, over under of 45.5. This is a Titans team that is on a 5-game win streak. They're 5-0 straight up and against the spread in that span. Kansas City lost 27-3. At Tennessee last year, which was the worst loss of Mahomes' career. So yes, these are different teams than a season ago. However, this Tennessee team, and led by Vrabel, he's shown that he can go out there and put a whooping on the Chiefs. However, they did just come off their bye. Andy Reid is the best coach coming off of a bye. He is 20-3 in his career coming off of a bye, 15-8 against the spread. And Mahomes has won and covered in 4 straight Sunday night football games. But still, for me, I am surprised with how big this spread is because the Titans have been playing a lot better. I don't like betting double-digit spreads like this, but I'm actually going to. I'm going to take the Titans plus the 12.5 points because that is quite a bit for a team that is coming off 5 straight wins. Arrowhead is tough to play in. They did just get a new receiver there in Kansas City, and Andy Reid is great coming off of that bye, and the easy pick for me is just to take Kansas City money line, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans plus the points because I'm feeling a little bit ballsy on this one. I think
now, how do you feel about that quarterback situation? Because they have not given up any information on if Tannehill is going to play or not. We could see Malik Willis again.
I think that Tannehill is going to play. The couple hints that I've seen out there is that Tannehill actually is going to play. If he doesn't, Malik Willis is I don't want to say X factor. He's the factor that Kansas City might not be prepared for. So that could shake things up a little bit. I don't think Malik Willis is ready to be the starter there, but I think that he provides enough difference in style of play between him and Tannehill that will help out a little bit. The biggest thing for me, honestly, is and why I'm would pick the Chiefs to win this game if I was going just straight up, is that the Titans just don't have a passing attack. If Malik Willis is out there, the passing attack is even worth. Traylon Burks, their top pick.
Not good.
I don't think he's great, but he's also hurt. He's not playing. So that makes it a little bit scary for me. But man, a 12.5 point spread.
That's a lot of fucking points.
Yeah. Titans, I don't think are.
And a primetime game too. I mean,
yeah. I don't think I don't think the Titans are as good as their record these last 5 games. I mean, they've been playing a lot better, but this is honestly more for Vrabel, I guess, for me, is I think that he does a good job of coaching his guys up, especially this in recent memory, these Chiefs-Titans games, the Titans always play them pretty fucking hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take Titans plus the points here. I don't feel phenomenal about it, but I feel good enough to go to a double-digit spread on this one. And for what it's worth, I don't think I'll ever take a double-digit spread where I'm giving points. I'll take some of those points sometimes. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to do here.
So I'm not going to do the spread here. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going Kansas City on the money line. They're the top 3 team in the NFL. The Titans, they could keep this close. I think 12.5 is a very interesting line to take. I think there's a very strong possibility that they will cover. We talked about it all last year, even though they've kind of bucked that trend. The Chiefs perpetually don't cover. But they've been doing a pretty decent job of covering recently, even though they didn't fucking cover against the Packers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the Titans can cover, but I'm going to play it safe here. I already took my one outlandish high spread bet of the week with the Bills, which I feel very confident in. So I'm going to stick with the Chiefs on the money line. They're a better team. Malik Willis plays or doesn't play. I don't really care who's playing quarterback. The Chiefs are better. Andy Reid is an absolute savant coming off of a bye, and they just added another weapon in Kadarius Toney that we're finally going to get to see, and I think he's going to have an impact in this game. Chiefs money line.
And for what it's worth, ESPN and their AccuWeather right now is showing a little symbol that this game could be a little bit rainy. That would actually help the Titans out quite a bit because they do have the stronger running game of the two teams. All right, moving on, we'll go to our Monday night game before jumping back in time for my team. Monday night is the Ravens and the Saints. This is being played in New Orleans, so it'll be in a dome. The line is Baltimore -2, over under of 47. The Ravens just lost Bateman for the season to IR. Also, Mark Andrews is doubtful. So in his stead, Isaiah Likely put up a hell of a game last week. I went ahead and immediately picked up Likely. I've been watching him for the past couple days to be my starting tight end this week in fantasy. He had himself a hell of a game, a really good preseason too. But when you're playing behind Mark Andrews, it's tough to get some of those catches. So with that, Andrews being out, Likely had himself a great week. But losing Bateman, probably your best receiving option. You've got Duvernay there and whatnot, but not a ton receiving wise otherwise for the Ravens. Ravens have led by 10 or more points in every single game this season, but they still are 5-3, have lost some games there. And Lamar Jackson, he is 18-9-1 against the spread, which is 67% cover in his career on the road. Those are the stats I got there. The Saints went out and completely demolished the Raiders last week. Can they do that 2 weeks in a row with Andy Dalton at the helm? I'm not so sure. This is, expect to be a pretty close spread there. Baltimore -2, even though it is a home game for New Orleans. I believe that on primetime, Lamar Jackson performs pretty damn good. I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens here. But I have not decided if I'm taking Ravens -2 points or money line. What do you got for this one, Mike? Well,
I'm going to go money line for the Ravens. And the reason I'm going to go money line for the Ravens is because they have a propensity to blow leads late in the game. I believe we could see a backdoor cover here, get close, and then something fucking crazy happens. The Ravens are not very good. I do not believe this team is very good. Lamar Jackson has really dropped down in his play from the way he started the season, going in, looking for that new contract. And his play's really dropped off. His best weapon in Mark Andrews is doubtful, which, I mean, if I see doubtful, I assume they're not playing. Now, granted, this is a Monday night game. He gets an extra day. I don't know if that will make a fucking difference, but he's
nursing two injuries. He's nursing two injuries.
I can't get on the Andy Dalton led fucking anythings at this point. Andy Dalton has played, I think, much better than people expected. There's a reason that he is continuing to start, and because Jameis, I'm fairly certain, is healthy enough to play.
Yes.
But they are still going with Andy Dalton. He probably gives them the best chance to win. I'm not there yet, so I'm going to stick with Baltimore on the money line, and they will figure out a way. Lamar shines under the bright lights, like you alluded to. He's really fucking good in prime time. So I'll stick with my Ravens, the Ravens on the money line.
I don't know. You keep calling these your teams.
Yeah, I know. They're my teams for this week because I want to win this fucking full slate parlay.
All right. Well, I'm also going to take the Ravens money line. I think that's just a safer play here. Just because I'm not big on the Ravens, but yeah, for the reasons I talked about earlier, why I think the Ravens will win, I'll go with that and just stick with the money line. All right. So then that takes us back to my game. We have the Vikings versus the Commies being played in Landover, Maryland. This is Kirk Cousins' return game. First time he's going to be going back there to Washington to play versus his old team. Kevin O'Connell, also a former coach there, used to be a play caller there. So he's headed back as well. They're talking about this being Kirk Cousins' revenge game. I don't know if I'd go that far. This is
every game's a
one.
fucking revenge game now. If they're calling this a Kirk Cousins revenge game, they
Yeah,
paid him like fucking $60 million over 2 years.
This is definitely an interesting game for me because I love my Vikings team. I love that they've got this 6-1 record, and I would love to see a 7-1 record before we go and play the Bills, which is going to be an absolute nightmare. Because we could definitely if we drop this game, there's a possibility that we could lose 3 games in a row here, and that's going to make the season feel a lot different from the 6-1 team to a 6-4 team or a 7-3 team. The line is currently Minnesota -3, over under 43.5. And it looks like it'll be sunny and cloudy there. Initially, they had talked about it being rainy there earlier in the week, but it sounds like that's not going to happen. So that helps things out a little bit, especially on that scary field there, because it is next to Chicago, the worst turf in the game. So the stats here is that the Commies have won 3 straight by a total of 8 points. So they've won games, but it's been pretty damn close. Minnesota is 5-0 in those 1 possession games this year. Heineke is 8-2 against the spread in his last 10 starts. He is not who I want to be playing at quarterback in this game, to be completely honest. I really wish
you want Wentz out there.
Crazy. It's crazy to say. But other notes is that Ron Rivera has covered in 61% as an underdog on a winning streak. He's 23-15 against the spread. Also, a little bit of a side thing is that Ron Rivera lost his mother this week. That might bring the team out to play a little bit stronger for him.
Emotional.
Yeah. And this line of Minnesota -3, I definitely think that this game is going to be within 3 points. I've got to take my team to win money line. I'm just going to take the Vikings money line. But this is definitely a game that we hopefully have been preparing for correctly. This isn't just the Washington Commanders. This is the Heineke-like Commanders, which means this team can win. With Wentz, didn't trust it at all. Now they do have some injuries going on there for Washington. Jahan Dotson is going to be out. Top linebacker Cole Holcomb is out. Mayo linebacker out. JD McKissick is out, but they do have a solid running back tandem between Gibson and Robinson. So Heineke is the type of guy, he's definitely your boom or bust. We saw that when he was the Vikings backup quarterback. We brought him in as a UDFA for a couple of years, ended up getting rid of him after he decided to put his foot through a plate glass window and cut it the fuck up. But that's worked out for him because he's gotten a lot of starting time there for his next team, the Washington Commanders. Look, the game scares me, to be completely honest. And the only thing that scares me is Heineke. Because he's definitely that wild card. He's a little bit more mobile, and he's just got that moxie and makes things happen. The Commanders DVOA this entire year. Their offense is ranked 30th, passing offense 28th, rushing offense 30th. So their offense has really not been performing that well, but it's getting better with Heineke out there. Their defense 15th overall, pass defense 28th, rush defense 2nd. So they are good against the run. They just activated Chase Young, but he will not be playing in this game. It would be criminal of them to put him out there. But they do have a pretty relatively tough front 7, despite some of those linebackers being out. I'm really excited that my Vikings went out there and got T.J. Hawkinson. I've liked Irv Smith, but he has just never come through and produced. He's often injured. We did not pick up his 5th-year option. This is going to be it for him. With Hawkinson in and his 5th-year option picked up, I expect us this offseason especially if he looks good this second half of the year, for us to give him a big multi-year deal. He isn't like the greatest tight end out there, but I think that he's got Kittle potential in the right.
He is a very, very good blocker. He can catch the ball. He is not an elite tight end. Like when I'm thinking elite, I'm thinking, Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, and then when healthy, Waller. The group below that is where I put Hawkinson. He is a steady guy who can block well. He's going to really help your team, I think, but he's not an elite tight end.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that in the right system, right scheme, he's got Kittle potential. Another one of those Iowa tight ends coming out, which they just always produce good all around tight ends.
Yeah.
And he's been doing this with not the best quarterback play and not the best team around him. He's been, shown to be a pretty damn good tight end for those Lions. For me, anytime touchdown score, I think that he's going to get a touchdown in this game. I really do, because is from the reports I'm hearing from local beat reporters in Minnesota is that he's actually picking up the playbook pretty quick. Kevin O'Connell in a press conference, I believe yesterday, said that they are definitely have specific plays in the playbook just for him already, which O'Connell loves to scheme in, guys. As soon as we went out and got Rager, they had a play in for him to run the ball, and he got a touchdown that next week. So for me, I think that they're going to have stuff schemed up for him, specifically red zone. He is a big-time red zone target for us. I think he hedges the bet against Adam Thielen getting hurt. He is going to just be another option, another big-time receiving option that is going to be a nightmare for defenses between Thielen, Jefferson, and now Hawkinson. I think that could be a bit of the X factor in this one, is that, and I don't want to downplay tight ends. They obviously have a tough job, but as far as schemes go for tight ends, your blocking assignments are relatively simple compared to some of the other players in that line, especially if he's on a condensed playbook. But when you're talking about a route tree for an inline tight end, it is relatively simple as well. So if they're saying, hey, we are already condensing our playbook for this game, which NFL teams do, you don't go in with your 100 play, 200 play playbook into a game. You condense it down to the team that you're playing against. They can say, hey, this is our condensed playbook for this game. And by the way, we want you to focus in on these 20, 25 plays, because these are the plays that we really think could work for you. Apparently he's picking that stuff up pretty well. Like I said, I think they're going to have design plays for him, especially in the red zone. That's a big one for me as far as our offense and being able to put things together. The Minnesota likes to play games close. So like I said, I think this line being within 3 points is absolutely out there. I do think that the Commanders could win this game because the Vikings
You're thinking trap game.
I don't know if I could say trap game, because they've just won 3 straight and they are a 4-4 team. If they're worse, yeah, trap game for sure with Heineke in there. But I don't want to downplay the Commanders and what they've done these past couple of weeks. I mean, they beat the Packers, and I love that out of them. Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings money line because they're my team. I got to. We'll talk about that next week if I got to take them. We'll see what the line is when they play the Bills next week. But yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think the Commies are going to play them close, unless Heineke kind of shits the bed.
So I'm way higher on your guys than you are. I think you guys cover this no problem. The fact that they have offensive weapons out is scary. They do not have their full slate of defense back. You guys are really fucking good. I'm very excited for you. I'm very happy for you that you get to enjoy good football. And I think you guys are going to go out there. This will be a game where you guys don't have to play them close. You guys will probably get a decent lead. I just hope you don't coast for the backdoor cover, because I'm in on you guys to cover the -3. I'm going Vikings -3. You guys have hit a stride. You're getting better, more offensive weapons. There's not a lot to say about this team that I don't like. I know you guys play that bend but don't break kind of style defense, which is a little scary because you let them down into red zone areas, kick field goals. And Heineke is a guy I really enjoy watching. I like his moxie. He's fucking Johnny Moxon out there. But I'm not there. And I think with all the shit going on around that fucking franchise, there's just so much noise that it's going to be a distraction. So I'm taking you guys -3 points.
And for what it's worth, we have picked it up on defense a little bit. Like I said, that is definitely the bend don't break, which is scary to watch. But I mean, we are 9th in turnover differential right now. The defense is getting very opportune turnovers. The pass rush is coming on. Zadarius Smith was not only the NFC Defensive Player of the Week last week, but he was the Defensive Player of the Month for October, because he has just been playing lights out for us. So, and that is one thing, is that this is one of the more pressured teams in the Commanders. I believe that they're pressured on something like 40-something% of their dropbacks. That offensive line is pretty porous, so I think we'll be able to get after Heineke a little bit. What scares me, of course, is breaking the pocket. If we're not able to keep contained, Heineke can get out there and create some magic. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this game here in just a little bit, in about 20 minutes, because man, I would love to get to 7-1.
Yeah, I bet you would. I'm about to take a picture of my picks here so we can get those put in for the full slate parlay. I have not done a full slate parlay all year. This is the week I'm going to do it because we have the most teams on bye. Now, I did already miss out on that Thursday night game with the Eagles, but I feel very confident in the rest of these picks. I like some of these games are kind of close, in my opinion. There were a couple that, man, I don't know which way to go. Specifically, that fucking Green Bay Lions game. I have no idea what's going to happen there. I think Green Bay will get right. There's no way to tell, though, with all the shit that is going on with that organization continuing to fail to, you know, oh, God damn it. Continuing to fail to, you know, get something together on that offense for Aaron Rodgers to be productive. Now, previous years, I had said, you know what, Aaron can take, you know, shit and turn it into sugar. It's not happening this year, but I'm going to send you that right now so we can get that put in. We got anything else? Do we want to go over any quick fantasy news? We got a couple minutes before this game gets started. Or 20 minutes before all the games get started, basically, today.
I mean, that's up to you, man, if you want to. Otherwise, I mean, fantasy managers, if you're not paying attention to your team right now, I guess you kind of deserve to lose.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, your fantasy apps should all be up to date with all these more recent events and whatnot. And like I said, we've kind of been dropping the stuff here as we see it pop up on our screens of what's going on.
And I got we got one thing here from Joe Rockstar. On a side note, check the Niners with Jimmy G passing DVOA. Either DVOA means something, and people need to ditch preconceived notion and media-fed attitude towards Jimmy, or DVOA is a worthless measuring stick. So
I'll say this. There's no perfect stat, no stat that tells the entire story. It's all kind of a breadcrumb that can be used to build a narrative. DVOA, for people who don't know, is defense adjusted value over average. So it is a heavy analytic tool compared to just like how many completions did a quarterback have. It takes into account a lot of different things. I think it's a pretty good stat, and I don't know what the Jimmy G stat for DVOA stuff is off the top of my head, and quite honestly, I'm not going to look it up right now. But I think that it is all part of a story, all part of a narrative, and if anything, it's definitely a more analytically driven stat that does help tell a better story than some of the other things like strictly completion percentage or something like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, there is no perfect stat, and we got Joe Rockstar in here again. NFL past DVOA rankings, post week 1. Okay, second. So they're second behind the Chiefs. I mean, that's great. I'm still not hopping on the Jimmy G train yet. I want to see more, but you know what? He's playing efficient. That's typically what Jimmy does. He plays very efficient football. He's not a guy that wins you games. He's the guy that's along for the ride. But I know Joe hates when we say that stuff.
He's a Jimmy for MVP guy.
He is, yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I'm not there yet. So, you got anything else? We got 17 minutes before games start kicking off.
No, sir. I got to put in these bets for you and go drain the main vein, bleed the lizard a little bit, because I've had a coffee and a couple high nooners here. So got to get that prepped, and I got to go set up my TV to watch a completely legally streamed version of my game.
Yeah, 100%. We always pay for all of the things that we watch. Would never do anything else. And by the way, when we're talking about analytics, I got a couple guys. We actually had one of them hop in here today. Gabe said Bengals money line. A couple guys that I'm in college with that do some analytics stuff. They want to be analytics people somewhere in the sports world. I'm going to try to see if they can get us some numbers and get them on the show. I'll take a college-educated kid over my dumb, thick ass pretty much any time, even though I'm almost a college-educated person now. But yeah, man, great show. I'm excited to watch some football. I got a lot of shit to do though. I got 2 papers to write. One due Tuesday, one due Thursday. Luckily, they're not that intensive, 4 or 5 page paper, and then a paper where I'm basically writing it in bullet format. But I'm excited to try to watch some football, get some schoolwork done, and I'm ready to go next week, man. I'm already ready for next week. Let's fucking do this.
Yeah, because your team's on a bye.
I know.
So
It fucking
next
stinks,
week.
man. Like, this is a great weekend to have to do a lot of fucking homework. Because I don't have the Browns to watch. I don't have to work a Browns game. However, I will be turning on some of these games while that happens. Only the good games, though. So I will absolutely be paying through some sort of subscription service to watch all those games.
Absolutely.
Not those blowout games or the dog shit games that we talked about today. But all right, man, you ready to get the fuck out of here?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the comments today. You guys rock. You can catch us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the social medias. We are on there. You can listen to us if you don't want to watch on any podcast platform. If you guys do enjoy watching, you can go check out the YouTube. And we now have our own URL. That's going to be https://www.youtube.com/@the-lineman-lounge. That is our direct line right into our YouTube page. You guys can check us out there. We could not have done all that without your support and getting us over those 100 subscribers. So thank you very much. I'm Mike. That's Evo. We'll see you guys next week. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional.